Hello there, people of the internet. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm going to kind of run a little bit of an experiment on this video. I'm not quite sure how well this is going to go, but hey, let's go ahead and give it a try anyway. And I figure while I do this, I'll talk about the Mauser Model 1893 and the Mauser Model 1898 because they are incredibly similar rifles. But I want to go ahead and talk about some of the, not necessarily the pros and cons between them, but just something to take into consideration. So whenever Mauser was working on these rifles, of course, the 1893 is the predecessor to the 1898. The 1898 does have some improvements in terms of strength and capabilities of handling certain kinds of pressures, and it has a couple of extra safety features. And the way that the bolt and whatnot is disassembled, and the way the trigger mechanism is disassembled, and the way it actually cocks is a little bit different. It's definitely a different system, but very, very, very similar. So I have me an 1893 Turkish Mauser. This right here is chambered in 8mm Mauser, and I had some issues running Turkish ammunition through this thing because Turkish ammo runs a little bit hotter than some of your other stuff. This Mauser used to be able to withstand Yugoslavian stuff just fine, and Greek stuff just fine, and regular pressure ammunition just fine, but I have a couple of rounds of Turkish ammunition, and I'm like, I want to run some Turkish ammo through my Turkish rifle, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can fix that. So the issue was the higher pressures were causing pressure sticking with this rifle. The 98 action doesn't have this issue because it is a nice, strong, capable action, and even the higher pressure Turkish stuff does not give any issues to the 98 action. However, in a 93 action, I have fired several 93 actions with this Turkish 8mm stuff, and in every single one of them, I have issues with pressure sticking. Well, with the issues of pressure sticking, the original extractor inside of this Mauser 93 model was a little on the weak side, so I decided to go ahead and replace that extractor to see if I can kind of force my way through that slight pressure sticking. It's nothing major, it's not going to cause any real significant issues. I hear a dog barking in the background. I do apologize for that one. Sounds like it's my neighbor. I got a neighbor a little ways away that way, and they got some animals over there. But that Mauser 93, I went ahead, I replaced the extractor, see if I can kind of finagle my way through this pressure sticking as I cycle that action. But I want to go ahead and talk about this little experience that I had. Just because of the firearms that I have, whenever I had shown a young man some of my stuff, he was under the impression that the 1893 was a long gun and the Mauser 98 action was a short gun like this right here. This is a Yugoslavian 24-47. And I figured I'd go ahead and make a video discussing that because let's go ahead and clarify. Whenever I'm talking about the action of a rifle, I'm not talking about the barrel length. The barrel length is completely separate from the actual action of a rifle. The 98 action has a specific system that it uses for its bolt and lockup system. It's even got a third, call it locking lug, but it's more of a safety lug than anything else. And just the way that the system operates is going to be slightly different than the 93 action. It's also going to be slightly more robust. Now, the 93 is definitely a strong action, don't get me wrong. You can definitely push the 93 to quite some significant pressures before you start seeing any kind of issues. But the 98 is just, it's in like a god tier. You're comparing a king to a god. But with this being chambered in 8mm Mauser, 8mm Mauser has the same base dimensions as a 7mm Mauser. And the 7mm Mauser is what the 30-06 is based off of, so the same base dimensions are from the 7mm Mauser to the 30-06. I promise this will make sense in a second. The same base dimensions are from the 30-06 to the 7.62 NATO/7.62 Set Me round, and that is what this right here is chambered in. This is my Oviedo Mauser. So the extractor on this has the same base dimensions as both 7 and 8mm Mauser rifles. So I took the extractor off of this one right here, and I put the Turkish extractor onto this Oviedo Mauser. And hopefully, because that rifle right there doesn't have issues with pressure sticking, the Turkish Extractor will be strong enough to be able to extract rounds out of that Oviedo Mauser, and the Oviedo's much more robust extractor, hopefully that will be enough to be able to extract rounds out of our Turkish Mauser here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my headphones here and put them on and turn them on. And I got just a handful of Turkish rounds here. Let me go ahead and check them, make sure they are actually Turkish rounds and not Norwegian rounds, because those sometimes do get mixed in with these batches. Yes, these are Turkish rounds. So I'm going to go ahead and send a couple of rounds through this 98 action, and you guys are going to see that there's no issues with any sort of pressure sticking with the 98. Unlike what we would get with our 93, simply because the 98 is a stronger action. They're both very strong actions, but the 98 is just an unbelievably strong action. So there's a round, extracts nice and easily, no problems whatsoever. And there's a round, extracts nice and easily, no problem whatsoever. Now I got to clean that rifle, and now I'm going to have to clean this one as well. Let's see if this Oviedo extractor, I don't even think this is an original extractor on this Oviedo Mauser. I think I swapped it out at one point or another. Let's see if this Oviedo extractor will work for our Turkish Mauser here. I'm pretty sure that it will, because it's a significantly beefier extractor than the Turkish one. I know the Turkish one, the spring that was on it, like the springiness of the Mauser, was not very strong, and I literally just like pulled it off with my fingers. So the Oviedo one is definitely significantly stronger. So this is going to fire. Let's see if we hit our target. Yep, we hit our target. And yeet! Little bit of a pressure sticking there, but definitely not anything to be concerned about. And we did in fact extract our round. There's that round. Yeet! Alright, and one more. Alright, the extraction and the ejection is a little bit on the weak-ish side, but we did extract our rounds. And so that's one thing that I can cross off the list of repairs for this Mauser. Whenever I got this, it was not necessarily all that great of working order, so I have had to do some work to it. I kind of got a little-ish video series on this rifle and the improvements I've made. I went into the actual bolt catching. I got the extractor working properly again. I had issues with some stuff on the internals, and I had issues with extraction with this Turkish ammo. I am glad that the Turkish ammo is now running in the Turkish rifle, because I would like to run Turkish ammo through a Turkish rifle. Now, let's find out with some 7.62 NATO ammunition if my Oviedo Mauser right here, this stuff looks like 2013 made by CBC. I do not know who that is. But let me go ahead and run a couple of rounds through this thing to see if this Turkish extractor will be strong enough to handle this 7.62 NATO through this rifle. If not, then I'll probably pull the extractor from Old Sketchy, which is another 7.62 NATO rifle that I have. Probably pull the extractor off of that one and swap these out, because I don't really use Old Sketchy all that much, because I have this one right here. So, yep, we caught the rim. That's no problem at all. We're going to send it around downrange, no problem at all. Wow, 7.62 NATO from a little carbine like this is significantly more recoil than the 155 Turkish ammo from this right here. The 155 Turkish ammo, that's 155 grain projectile traveling at about 3,000 feet per second. And this right here is 7.62 NATO, so that's going to be 150 grain projectile traveling at about, rough estimations, 2,700 feet per second or so out of a barrel length like this. So this is actually a less powerful bullet than what we were firing from the 8mm Mauser round. I got bugs attacking me. But because this is a significantly smaller and lighter weight rifle, the recoil is quite harsh. Let's see if we get appropriate extraction. No extraction. I'm gonna have to just replace this extractor altogether, aren't I? Okay, maybe if I give its assy ass some grassy ass. Let's send another round here. Whew, that's some recoil. Yeet! No yeet. No yeetus maximus. Okay, so I have confirmed that the Turkish extractor itself is just a little too on the weak side to be able to reliably handle these cartridges. So I'll go ahead and swap this one out with Old Sketchy's extractor, and then while I wait for that new extractor to come in, I'll just have Old Sketchy set aside or something like that. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. I just wanted to go ahead and talk about some of these actions. I have both 93 and 98 actions. I've also got 1891 pattern. Maybe I'll make a video talking about all the different patterns of Mauser, because I got 91, 93, 96, and 98. I do not have any of like the earlier single shots, and I don't have a commission 88 rifle. That would be really sweet to have, but I simply don't have one of those. So, like I was saying, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go ahead and go check that out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I get the hiccups again. Whenever I start talking for long periods of time, I seem to develop hiccups, and there's nothing I can do about that. But I will see you guys on the next episode. Y'all have a good one.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.